Hey, welcome. This is
Not yet.
what?
Not yet.
Oh,
It takes a couple seconds for Riverside and YouTube to talk, and now you can go.
well, you threw me under the bus. Hey, do the intro. Hey, okay. Well, here we are. It's Lunch Bytes. This is the website 101 podcast, the podcast for people who I forgot our slogan. And I'm here with Mike and Amanda, and I completely blew the intro.
Hey, it's okay. Hey, inhale and exhale. It's okay. Now you don't need to remember a slogan or anything official or letterhead or anything. But hey, Sean, what's the podcast about?
Oh, our podcast and live stream is all about websites and people who run and manage them, as well as developers who want to learn more.
There you go.
That's right.
Yeah,
Easy.
I was
Good
just,
job.
I don't know if everybody saw Mike throw the bus at me, but he's like, "Hey, you do the intro." I was totally unprepared. Anyways, good times. Good times.
Okay.
So how is everybody
You
today?
did. You did start the podcast from day one,
You
unlike
did.
the rest of us.
So
Yeah, I did, but I don't know.
It has been a while that we did a podcast.
it has
Yes.
been. Yeah.
it has. So anyways, guys, how are things going?
Things are pretty good with me.
Things are very well,
guess.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's the last week of the Seneca semester, and as excited as I'm positive that all of the students are, I am always.
more?
I've been like, my soul feels lighter. Like I feel like I'm on a cloud, and yeah, I've got assignments to mark, and yeah, the emails are coming in, but still, it's like.
I
last
totally remember
week.
that from when I was teaching at university. The feeling as the semester comes and the weight lifts off your shoulders, and it's like everything has got this new glorious thing. You got Hallelujah singing in the background.
Clouds part and angels sing. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it feels good.
It is
So-
an awesome feeling.
You'll be stopping teaching, and then for how long? Like what happens?
So Seneca, I assume like all universities and colleges in at least Canada, there are 3 semesters a year. So each semester goes for 4 months, 3.5 months, 4 months. So it goes from January to April. So this winter semester is just ending. The beginning of May is when the summer semester starts, and it will go till like the middle of August. And then the fall semester goes from September to the middle of December.
So you get
Okay.
about 2 weeks between each semester.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's time to prep if it's a new course or review materials if it's a course that you've done before, like I have. Trying to get, I think that the biggest hassle right now is trying to get this Blackboard software reconfigured and set up for the new semester. And it's just, let me be buoyant. Let me be happy and excited that the current
So-
semester is almost over before I start worrying about May.
Right. So I should probably not tell you about my university vacation that I got when I was on overseas.
You can if you want. Go for it.
10 weeks, twice a year.
Nice.
20. I don't know why I left. 'Cause it was all paid vacation. So,
Oh, see, my time off is not paid because I am a part-time employee.
right. And that's pretty common, as I understand it, at universities, at least in North America now. Universities,
doesn't-
colleges.
That doesn't surprise me. I think like 100 years ago when I was in university in Canada, I feel like all of the teachers, I mean, maybe they weren't all tenured, but they were all full-time. They all had offices, they all had extensions, they all taught multiple classes at multiple different levels every semester.
Yeah.
So I assume that they were all full-time employees. But like I said, it was 100 years ago. So it's very possible that a lot of things have changed.
That's what I feel like what my university experience was like here. But, it's kind of the way the late stage capitalism is going, is that, screw the little guy, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So,
Tell you.
how about we get onto something a
on.
little bit more related to
More
our,
related. Yeah,
Oh,
I
go ahead,
have
Amanda.
I have I have a quick little still changing topics. anecdote. I did some work recently, a couple months ago, for a client, and they're a big corporate client. They're big, so it's like, okay, cool, whatever. So as the project is winding down, I get an email from someone at this client's company who I do not know. I've never interacted with. I have literally no idea. And their email says, as a part of our ambassador charter, we encourage our team members to update their LinkedIn profile to show this company as their current company. It strengthens our visibility on LinkedIn and highlights the talent. And it's like, no, I'm not doing
As if you work for them?
that. As if I work for them. And I like whatever. I just deleted the email, and I'm trying to get off of social media, and I'm doing a good job, except for Reddit. Reddit keeps pulling me in. I've got a profile on LinkedIn, but I never update it. I never post to it. I never do anything to it. I think that LinkedIn it makes me feel weird. I just don't like it in general. So I deleted it, and I'm like, whatever, no big deal. He followed up with me today. I'd like to contact you to see if you've been able to read my last email. Could you please update your LinkedIn profile as soon as possible? And it's like,
hello, I'm
So
not
wait a
an employee.
Is this-
Respond, I'm
but
not an
even-
employee.
But regardless, is this what they're making kids do these days? People like junior, not even developers, but just like junior people entering the workforce.
Yeah, it seems a little heavy-handed.
It really does. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So it's,
Go
go ahead, Sean. No, you go.
I was just going to reiterate what I already said, so Mike, go ahead.
Well, so just to clarify, you're saying that this is a big company that people would recognize, and they're suggesting that anyone who works for them, I suppose, or in your case with them, should say that as part of their profile on their social networks. That's what people
Yeah.
should be doing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've
never heard
heard,
that.
I have, again, Reddit, I have heard of stories of companies wanting, make sure to update your LinkedIn and get us listed on there. And it's like, it's the same as, you always hear you sometimes hear these horror stories where you go in for an interview or you get hired to a new company and they're like, yeah, we want to go through your social media profiles. And it's like, not yours. I understand the maybe getting to know a person and wanting to like look back and make sure that they're not like affiliated with like white supremacy groups or posting, super whatever your company is against posts. Sorry, my phone. But like, I just, no, like I mean, and maybe it's the era that we grew up in, but the job is the job. And if you choose to make friends in that environment, that's fine. It's not your life. It should not be your life. You should not bend over backwards. They are not loyal to you. Make sure you look out for yourself. HR is not your friend. Like just all of these little things. And so to have this person like send me multiple emails, it's just like, nah.
Yeah, I'm all for separation of church and state, or in this case, employee and employment life and personal life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm on the clock. I'm all yours. When I'm off the clock, I don't want to think about you.
Yeah.
Quiet
You shouldn't
quitting.
be thinking about me when I'm off the clock.
It's, you know what? That's not quiet quitting. I think that
yeah.
quiet quitting is doing like kind of the bare minimum and just kind of hanging out and doing nothing and getting paid until you can get out. And I think that that's something very different than, you know what? I'm going in, I'm doing my job. And like, and this always reminds me of the last office that I worked in. And there was a round of layoffs and they let off like a handful of people. And it was like, oh, and it was tough. It was tough on all of us. And then like maybe a month or two later, I found out that my name was on the table to be laid off. And like the senior developer told me or whatever. And I was like, excuse me, what? Like, why is this? And the reason was because I only put in my 40 hours a week.
Oh, man.
And it was like, am I not getting my work done? Oh, no, you are. The tasks that are assigned to me, am I not getting them done? Oh, no, you are. Am I not asking to like hey, can I help? Hey, what's going on? Hey, am I not doing that stuff? Oh, no, you are. But because I was only putting in 40 hours a week. And
Not a team
I was
player.
just like,
Yeah,
that's
just insane.
I was angry. Yeah.
I feel like
work culture in North America is just a little bit too pushy about that. I like the European protections for people. Like you're required to take your vacation, and if you go overtime, the company has to evaluate why they needed you for overtime and stuff. Like the protection for workers in Europe is so much better than Canada and the United States, and the States is even worse than Canada.
Yeah. Well, I think it just goes back to, you gotta watch out for yourself. You should be your number one priority all the time.
Yeah, I think that when I said quiet quitting, what I mean is like, I feel like that thing that you're experiencing and the whole thing about, you've got to come back into the office at least 5 days a week or whatever it is, not 5 days, whatever they're doing, 2 or 3 days a week.
Some are. No, I was just talking
Some are
to
doing
someone.
5 days.
And yeah, her company's over, I think, yeah, she said in the next little while, she thinks they're going to go back to 5 days.
I mean, I feel like that stuff is a reaction to that quiet quitting and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're like, listen, you work for, and your thing that you're going through seems to be, you work here, you're going to help promote this organization, which is super weird if it's huge. Because you also hear, like, I've worked for organizations where, like companies, where I'm subcontracted by like a design studio or something. Mm-hmm. And they ask me if they can put my face in their staff listing, like on their team page, our team. Yeah. And I've said yes before, and you learn later that everyone on that page is all over the world. No one's an employee of that company. They're just people that like I work with you guys when I build sites sometimes.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that whole thing about like, you work here, you work for us, you don't work for them. Like there's a whole lot of weird, not so like bending the truth in all of that.
Yeah. Well, and just like you were saying, how it's like how it's possible that the entire Our Team page is a contractor that they worked with for a month, but then that's it. Again, it's all about optics, and it's all about looking bigger and better. And this whole thing here about how did he put it? That it strengthens our company's visibility on LinkedIn. Like why should that matter? It's not like I have any LinkedIn traffic. It's not like having my name associated with your company is going to like drive up your visibility. Like the whole thing was just weird.
I wonder if they're gaming. Like I use on my LinkedIn profile, it says right in my sort of profile tag there, it says craft, Statamic, expression engine. It names this podcast because you only have like a certain number of characters, and I've just scrunched it all in, and that has resulted in me getting work before because it says craft, and people learn, oh, he's a craft guy, or he's a Statamic guy, or whatever.
I need to update mine.
Yeah, so I wonder if they're sort of gaming it in some way, so that if people have that name in their profile and enough of them do, somehow that bubbles them up or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know
but could
algorithms.
Could you imagine if we added to LinkedIn every single client that we worked with?
Well, you can because you can set up projects. So I've done things.
Yeah, but not in your profile.
It shows up as a project, not like I'm working at that company, because I don't work. I don't work for a company. I work with a company. I'm a partner, not an employee. There's a difference.
No, but exactly. But could you imagine going to a LinkedIn profile and they have like 100+ employers listed, and some of them are only for like 3 or 4 months? It's like, why are you jumping around so much?
I did an update for a client once. It was like a day, and then they never worked with me again because they ended up like rebuilding their site with somebody else for some reason. I'm going to include that on my LinkedIn profile.
I know, right?
You know what you should do, Amanda, is you should put up that company name in your profile, and then when you stop that contract, say no longer working with. Leave their name up there.
I mean,
so people
are
like, oh, what happened? What's going on?
So far as I'm concerned, the contract's already done. So like, why they're contacting me now?
I have a question for you, Amanda. Is this person possibly think that you're an employee of that company? Or do they realize you're a contractor?
I'm sure they have no idea who I am. I'm sure and this particular company has like some own very specific like time tracking system. So it's very possible that this poor person, as part of their ambassador charter duties, just goes through the timesheets and is like, oh, well, here's somebody who's like filled in a couple of timesheets. Let's send out this generic but edited thing about LinkedIn. Like that's what my gut says. So and so honestly, I thought the first one was just a like form letter. And I was like, delete it. Who cares? The fact that they've sent a second one, it's like, this is.
Yeah, I find it
Weird.
weird that they didn't. Well, maybe they didn't notice that your email address is not their company address. And it's like, because you would think that employees would be using like name at company, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I would do, Amanda, if I were you. I would go into ChatGPT and I would get it to formalize what I'm about to say, which is, listen, company X, I consider my profile on social networks to be part of my brand. And if you want to leverage my brand to promote your company, that's right, money talks. And I'd say, ChatGPT, make that diplomatic.
Cha-ching.
And I will write back. Because these days, that's what it is in social media.
You could be a influencer.
Oh my God, I would rather stick hot, burning things in my eyes. Just, if I reply at all, it's just going to be I am an independent contractor.
I'm a contractor,
I don't actually work for this company.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow, that's funny.
Have a nice day. Yeah.
Amanda, LinkedIn influencer.
Oh my God, could you imagine?
You'll start doing the pose.
They start sending me to Coachella for like my LinkedIn. No, I start sending me to Coachella for my LinkedIn. I don't know.
That's right.
Join those influencers.
Yeah, there you go. Put the thing on your profile and then follow up with them a couple days from now and say, hey, listen, how do you want to help promote your company? But where do you want to send me? And I can go to conferences on your behalf. You pay for it. Do that. Listen, you're going to leverage this relationship or not? You know what I mean?
Seems like a lot of effort.
Let's start at low six figures for the first month, and then we'll talk from there.
For the first month. Yeah. Based on our view numbers and subscription numbers for this channel, I think just a little bit of research, they might be able to find out what my worth is. And that would just feel bad.
Perhaps those six figures are including the first 4 decimal points.
Maybe. Hey, I'd take that too.
The self-deprecation we have on this podcast. It's so fun.
So we spent like 18 minutes just talking about that. But it was fun. It was relevant. Anyways, I want to talk a little bit about AI for a second. I am using AI a little bit more than I was in the past, but I think I'm still pretty basic at it. And I know Mike is a really big advocate for using AI to streamline and make your work faster and things. So Mike can maybe jump in after, but I want to talk about something I learned today. And I was working on a section of a site using Copilot, and I was using Claude something or other as the AI engine, because I found it seems to be the best. And a few days ago, I had gone in and I was vibe coding with it. And I just said, hey, I need to build this feature. I've got the layout here, and we want to add in this JavaScript stuff, and I want to make sure that it works with Alpine.js intersect observer. So when you roll in, the JS activates and it does it. So it took a lot of back and forth, and I finally got it, and it was super complicated, but it was working. And I pushed it up for the client, and they said, well, it works, but randomly nothing happens. And so I took some time looking into the code myself and asking AI again, hey, this is what we're getting. There's no errors in the console. What's happening? AI couldn't help it. So I'd spent another little bit of time searching, and I found a JavaScript plugin that would do most of this custom work. So today, I talked to AI, and I said, hey, let's strip everything out, and I want to use this plugin with Alpine.js for the Intersect Observer. And we're going through, and nothing's working. There's no errors. And I said, okay, let's strip out Alpine and Intersect Observer. Let's just get this plugin working. Like how I would how I normally would build it is I would build it, get the plugin working, and then I would implement Alpine. So I backed it up like that. Works. Now let's do Alpine.js. 1 minute later, it's working. So my lesson for this is start with the smaller components, the foundation of what you want, and build up to the more complex stuff. Don't tell AI, this is what I want. This is everything I want. Like, the Rolls Royce, boom. Because it's going to take forever. You're going to have lots of issues. You got to start smaller. Mike, is that your experience? Have I been doing it wrong previously?
Well, I mean, I think the fact that it worked for you proves that that's probably a good approach. And I think that
well, there's no scientific basis for this. This is like just anecdotal. It's just me. I'm wondering if there's other people. You guys have.
Well, I mean, it always depends on what you're asking for, right? Like some things are more complex than others. But the fact that the AI can remember in your conversation what you've said earlier is super helpful. And I think that's what you're leveraging right here, which I think is really great. Like you can say, hey, this is the plugin I want to use. I want it to do this. You let it do it. And then you can say to it, oh, by the way, I want to incorporate Alpine and whatever. And the AI will usually say, that's a great idea. Let's do that or whatever.
I love how conversational the AI feels.
Today I was, just a quick side note, I was looking up, there's a band that I like called Hermanos Gutierrez. They do like spaghetti Western guitar type stuff. And I went into a ChatGPT thing and I said, hey, listen, what other bands would I like that are like this? And it listed a bunch of them, but a lot of them were kind of surf rock, upbeat stuff. And I said to it, okay, this is good, but can you give me stuff more on the darker side, like dark, tones and that? And its response was, hell yeah, let's get dark on this. And I was like, okay, you don't have to go that way, but yeah, just list the things, But anyway, it does talk to you like that, which is pretty funny.
I think I think that's a good way for the company to get people to like AI, and I'm pretty sure that casual, friendly, colloquial tone that it takes is done on purpose. You could probably instruct AI, hey, I don't like this. I want it to be more formal, or hey, can you talk in hip hop speak or whatever jargon that you like?
Yeah, I had to. A student asked me to write a recommendation letter for some design program that they in some university, I think in the UK or something. And so I went to ChatGPT and I was like, write me a recommendation letter and put in the description of the program. The student got this grade in my class and, some other measurable metrics. And it gave me this recommendation letter. And I was like, but it was fancy pants. I was like, no. So I put in the exact prompt that Mike was saying. And I'm like, this is a bit too formal. Could you, we've had many conversations before. Could you tone it down a bit and make it sound more like me and maybe limit it to like 3 short paragraphs? And it did it. And it did sound a lot more like me. And it was great.
Awesome.
Yeah. So using leveraging that, listen, what we just said a few minutes ago, we're going to change that a little bit, which is what you did, Sean, by building up on different stuff. I think that's a pretty good way to do it.
All right.
But I also have to say that there have been a couple times, have I told you all of this yet? And those watching at home, I don't remember. I got in a fight with GitHub Copilot one day.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Did I tell you
but
this?
I want to know.
Yeah. So I was working on a project and I needed like a line of code, and because it was like it was a craft project, and I was working on like this custom module for it, so it wasn't like templating stuff that's kind of like easy to search for, but it was like more the back end stuff. And so sometimes it's like to find the exact class and then the exact method name and then the exact structure, and so it's like whatever. So I asked for help, and I even prefaced at the beginning, because there were a couple times where it was like wrong. I said at the beginning, it's like, it's okay if you don't know the answer. I would rather you tell me that you're not quite sure than just to make something up. But how would I do this? And its response was, this is the answer. And I was like, great. Just copy and paste and put it in. Just error. And it wasn't even just like an error, it didn't work. Like it was an error that it like brought down the whole site type thing. And so I went back.
To be careful.
And I went back and I'm like, are you sure about that? Because this is the result. And it doubled down and it's like, nope, this is the code that you want. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. So I had to go and I had to look and I had to research, and finally in the documentation I found like the exact method that I was looking for, and it had like an example of how to use it. And so I even took the link and put it in like the GitHub Copilot. I'm like, you're wrong. Your code gave me this error. I already told you that. I found the documentation. This is what it's supposed to be. I told you before. Just tell me you don't know instead of making shit up. And it tripled down. And it was like, yeah, no, this is the code. And I was like, I had to walk away. I don't think I've been that frustrated interacting with something since my kid was about 3 years old. And I was just like, nope, I'm done.
What's
Hey,
the
AI is
AI?
only about 6 years old now, right?
I wonder what the AI equivalent of mansplaining is. That's what it was doing to you. It was AI.
No. Because it
what
wasn't
AI
rude
is
about
supposed
it.
to
And
do.
I guess,
Yeah.
but it was so funny that it was just like, no, this is the answer. I was like,
See,
it's interesting because I've gone through problems with AI where something's not working, and I trust AI to a point. I keep prompting it. Oh, I'm getting this error in the console, but eventually, I stop like I did earlier, and I evaluate the code. And sometimes I find the problem, and I was like, oh, this is in the wrong order, or you're using the wrong function, or whatever it may be. And I test it, fix it myself, and then I go back to AI and I said, you were wrong. I did this, and now it's working. And there's, oh, that's a clever correction.
You know what?
But the reason
that's
I
happened
do that,
a couple times. Yeah.
but the reason I do that is at
Learn
least I
for
feel
others.
like it's going to help AI learn
Yes.
what it did wrong. And I don't like the fact that it tripled down on Amanda. But
Oh, yeah.
I don't expect AI to be perfect, but I expect it to be good and not triple down and admit
Yeah.
it doesn't know.
Yeah, no, and exactly what you said. There have been a few times where I was like, oh, I found this to be the solution. And just like you said, Sean, it's like, oh yeah, that's a good way of doing it. Or, oh yeah, okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know. But this one particular time, and it was just like, nope, this is the answer. And I was just like,
Yeah,
oh.
one last thing that I found that helps sometimes is like, here's the docs for what I want to do. I don't have the time to look through these hundreds of parameters or whatever. This is what I want to do. And so you tell it to specifically reference the docs. And I think that
you can do
helps.
I gave it a link. Like, and a direct, because you know how the documentation, especially the craft documentation, and they'll have like I forget what they're called, the hashtags to the headings.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The jump.
What are the anchors? The jump links, the anchors, whatever they're called. And I had it. I like pasted in in the documentation with the jump link down to the method that I was looking for that even had the example. And I was like, this is the answer. And the response was, no, I'm right. And I was just like,
That's funny. I think that's funny because usually in my experience, anytime you say, are you sure? No matter what your question is, it will usually say, oh, you're right. I see my error now. And
yeah.
even if there's not an error, it'll just find some other way to say something to you.
One
Yeah.
last tip that I have discovered recently, maybe like last week or the week before, is that in VS Code, I got a bunch of files open and I'm asking it a question. But if the question is relevant to other templates, that before you ask your question, you can attach additional context. There's a little paperclip icon next to the chat window, and then you can use that to add other files. So if I'm on like file this block name .twig, and then there's another include that needs to be referenced, I can just attach that include to my question.
Yeah, you can also, helpful. I don't know if it works I use Cursor, so it's different from you guys, but there used to be, I don't even use it that much anymore I'll tell you in a second why, but there used to be a command that was at code base. And if you type that in, it will look at your entire project when you ask it a question, including all of the other templates, if it needs to know them. Now what I do is you can just say at and then name a template and say, I've said, I want this button to look like the button in this other template, and then at, and then name the template. Or if you use the agent, now you can either switch from like ask to agent. And if you use agent, it does a lot more thinking. So
what is
look
agent?
through your project.
I don't know what that is.
Well, an agent is the newest big thing in AI, which is basically rather than just asking AI something and it gives you an answer, it goes and does stuff. Like it completes a task for you. They say that's going to be the next big thing. Like every company is having agents made for their company. Like I want to book a flight to this and I want it to be under this price and I want it to be roughly at this time of the year. It'll go and book it for you, that kind of thing. Not just here's a flight. Why don't you book this one kind of thing?
Yeah.
So agents
and they
are
have
basically going to be
stuff.
the end of a lot of jobs, and people are going to have to like retool for different careers.
Well, I think what's going to happen is that people like us are going to be managing a whole army of agents instead of doing what we did traditionally. So we'll just all become managers. That's kind of where I'm at with it. But
what I would like, that stuff. I think the last thing that I find frustrating is like if I'm working with GitHub Copilot a lot on a specific file and asking it about, and adding this and changing that. And by the end of, like at the beginning of the day, it would just print out like the function that I'm working in, and that's fine. But then by the end of the day, because the function is being called down here, it would have all of the function and then all of the code in between and then the code where it calls it. And then by the end of the day, it's like spitting out the entire file every single time I ask it a question. And it's like, I wish I knew
minutes to like print it out.
Because it has to be fancy and like make it look like it's typing it out for you. I wish I could figure out the command or just the prompt to just be like, don't like, just give like in 10 lines, just show me the 10 lines above and below the thing that you've changed.
I'm sure there's a way to do that. I haven't really, because I do the same thing. Like I just kind of let it do its thing half the time.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something really quick that I liked the other? Another thing I do with AI a lot is I just make a copy of all the code in a template and paste it into another window, so that if I say something with AI and it breaks it, I just copy the other code back in, or you could like untrack it in Git or whatever. But anyway,
well, I was just about to say, shouldn't you just like roll back, do like a reset and get?
That's another way. Sometimes it's faster to just do copy and paste.
Yeah, I don't quite do what Mike does, but before I start any major AI thing, I make sure that I'm fully committed and there's no untracked changes. And then partway through, if I get to a point where like I've got half of what I want done and the next part is going to potentially screw it up, then I make another commit. And I can always revert it if I need to go all the way back.
Yeah.
But by committing, then I don't have to do copy and pasting, and I can walk away from the project and come back later in the day or tomorrow. And there's a commit message telling me what I did.
I'm lazy like Mike, and I will copy and paste the entire file into a new file that I don't bother saving. But it's like, oh, I know that this works. And if I even without AI, it's like if I know that I need to do a lot of stuff to it, and it's like, in case I fuck it up, I've got the backup. Everything's fine.
Well, here's
branching. I always use branches too.
Here's an
better
example.
at that.
Here's an example where just committing and all that stuff would be a waste of time. I thought like, okay, so I'm going to have to do some air coding here. But it's like I had this element. It was a matrix block in Craft. And it shows an image on the left text on the right, but there's like a dissolving effect so that the image dissolves away when the text is on that edge, like the text is starting to overlap the image so you can still read the text. There's also a curve on the top of the element that curves downward toward the right. And there's all this other stuff that's in there. So I thought, it would be cool if I can let the user control which direction this is in. So image on the left, text on the right, curve this way, but let them do it the opposite way. So the text is over here and it curves that way. So I thought, I'm not going to bother wasting my time trying to figure this out. I could probably figure it out in 20 minutes because there's like, that curve is generated with a clip path and stuff. And there's like 4 different values of percentages. I can't figure that stuff out. I'd have to get an app online to help me make the curve properly and stuff. Yeah. So I just said I copied all the template in case it doesn't work. I'll just forget this whole thing and go back to what I was doing. But I said, I wonder if this is going to work. And I said, this element curves to the left. Can you make it curve to the right depending on the value of a field called left or right? So in other words, I was going to make a radio button where the user could say left or right, like curve to the left, curve to the right. And if it's left, it will curve this way. And if it's right, it'll curve that way. I didn't build the field yet or anything. I was just like, can you do that? And it said, here you go. And it did the thing. And I was like, I wonder if it worked. So I made the switch field and I swear to God, it worked immediately the first time. We did
Nice.
the curve the right way, different clip path. The whole thing was great. And I was like, oh man, that's so good. And it took, 60 seconds to do all that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, now it's a cool feature that I wouldn't have even
that
bothered to
would
do
have taken
before.
15,
Yeah,
20
well,
minutes,
but
like you said.
But I think that's the thing is like sometimes we ask it to do something that is generic. Like that's not craft specific. That's just like design and CSS and like whatever. And it can do stuff like that absolutely no problem. And then we do it a little more and we do it a little more. And then we start to not necessarily rely on it, but it's like, let's use it again. But then when we start relying on it too much and we start using it for like something like really very specific and then it fails us, it's like, I feel like disproportionately angry.
That's
it's
what
like
happened
that it's
to me with
let
my
me
story
down.
earlier in the show. I was just relying on it to. It's like, oh, this is faster, and Mike's always saying use AI. Use AI. Is like, okay, I'm going to listen to Mike, and then I was like,
Mike.
I blame it on Mike.
He's got my head floating around.
Yeah.
Use AI. Use AI.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Oh, AI.
All right. Well,
All right,
we
friends.
are way over time, and thank you, viewers and listeners, for enjoying our journey together. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
That's right.
Bye, everybody.
I'm trying to play the song and it's not working.
The
Let me try
music.
again. Can you guys hear it right now?
Nope.
No.
Now
There
There you
it's
go.
Okay, bye.